My name is Kwame Dorridge, and welcome to Solving Quadratic Equations using the Quadratic Formula. This presentation was designed for Form 4S and the age group 14 to 15 years old. So here are our lesson objectives. 1. The students will be able to identify the values of A, B, and C in a standard form quadratic equation. Accurately substitute the identified values of A, B, and C into the quadratic formula and solve a quadratic equation using the quadratic formula. So, what is a quadratic? A quadratic is an algebraic expression or equation that includes a variable raised to the second power and its highest degree, as its highest degree, sorry. Now, whenever you see x squared, you know you're dealing with a quadratic. Once that in the expression or the equation is its highest degree. Now, I have a quick question for you. Quiz time. Select the quadratic expression. So you have three options. Option A, 2 divided by x plus x. We have option B, 5x squared plus 3x minus 1. And we have C, 4x to the power 3 minus 2x plus 7. I'm going to give you 3 seconds. Now, if you selected B as your answer, you are correct because you're seeing x squared as the highest power in that expression. Now, what is the difference between an expression and equation? You've been hearing me talk about expression and equation a few times so far in the presentation. So, an expression is a mathematical phrase that does not have an equal sign. Remember, it does not have an equal sign. No, the equation is the total opposite. An equation is a mathematical statement that includes an equal sign. So remember, when you don't see equal sign, but you got x to the power 2, you're dealing with a quadratic expression. But once you got an x squared and an equal sign, that is a quadratic equation. Now, the standard form of a quadratic expression or equation is ax squared plus bx plus c. Now, yes, the A, B, and C mean something. We're not talking about the alphabet. Now, the A represents the coefficient of x squared, the B represents the coefficient of x, and the C is the constant. Now, coefficient might be a new term or new word for you. Now, in this case, in this scenario, I just want you to remember the coefficient just means the number before x or x squared. And here is the quadratic formula. Now, the quadratic formula, we've seen the values come up again A, B, and C. And I like to always tell my students using the quadratic formula to solve a quadratic equation is basically just plug and play. Now, here's an example. Example number 1. Solve the following equation using the quadratic formula x squared plus 6x plus 5 equals 0. Now, it's very important. We can only solve an equation. We cannot solve an expression. And remember, an equation must equal to something. And when dealing with quadratics, the only way you can solve a quadratic equation is if it equates to 0. So remember that. So let's go into step number 1. Step number 1 states to list A, B, and C. Remember, A is the coefficient of x squared, B is the coefficient of x, and C is the number by itself. Remember, whenever you see a letter by itself, it means that a number in front of it is 1. So in this case, A is equals to 1, B is equals to 6, and C is equals to 5. So that's step number 1 cleared. Step number 2, substitute the values into the quadratic formula. Now, as I said before, I love to call it plug and play. So all you're going to have to do is take your values that you got in step number 1 and replace it, with the letters that you see or the corresponding letters you see in the formula. So as you can see, for B, I replaced it with 6. For A, I replaced it with 1. And for C, I replaced it with 5. Now we're all clear. Step number 3, simplify and solve. So in our first set of simplification, we focus on what is underneath the square root. So we did 6 squared, which is 36, and then 4 by 1 by 5, which is 20. And then the next step we have minus 6 plus or minus the square root of 16 divided by 2. Now, this is our last step on our last slide for this example. Now, when we square root 16, we get 4. So therefore, it leaves us with minus 6 plus or minus 4 divided by 2. Remember, remember, plus or minus means that you're going to have two scenarios. One scenario being addition, and the next scenario meaning subtraction. So x1 is scenario with addition, and x2 we're going to use for this case for the scenario for subtraction. So we got minus 2 divided by 2 equals minus 1. And then for x2, we ended up with minus 10 divided by 2 equals minus 5. So therefore, our x1 is minus 1 and our x2 is minus 5. Now, don't worry if you don't understand right now. We're going across into another example. All right? So let's go again. Example number 2. Solve the following equation using the quadratic formula. And the equation is x squared plus 7x plus 10 equals to 0. Now remember, the first thing we got to do is list our values A, B, and C. So in this case, once again, A is 1, B in this case is a new value, a different value, which is 7, and C is equals to 10. My favorite step, substitute the values into the quadratic formula. Plug and play. So we replace our B's with 7, we replace our C's with 10, and we replace our A with 1. And now it's time to simplify and solve. So we got 7 squared. Don't forget, we focus in with under the square root first. So 7 squared is 49, and then 4 by 1 by 10 is 40. We subtract the two of those, so 49 subtract 40, is 9. And then let's go across the last line. We're going to get minus 7 plus or minus 3 divided by 2. Remember, we're always going to get two values when we're looking at solving quadratic equations. We're going to see the reason why when we go to plot them as a graph in our next method of solving quadratic equations. Now, x1, once again, we can use the addition. So minus 7 plus 3 divided by 2, that leaves us with minus 4 divided by 2, which equals to minus 2. And then x2, we can use the subtraction scenario where we have minus 7 minus 3 divided by 2, which leaves us with a nice answer of minus 5. Now, remember, let's recap. Step 1. Step 1 in solving a quadratic equation using the quadratic formula is to list A, B, and C. Step 2. Substitute the values into the quadratic formula. And then the last step, simplify and solve. Now, we're going to leave you with 3 questions to do for homework, and we're going to be doing them in our next video. So please remember, quadratic equations are very easy and math is easy. Have a great day, everyone. My name is Kwame Darridge, and have a good day. Thank you.